I think we're good. Let us know if there's continues to be an echo, but I think just having my headphones probably solved the problem. So, all
All
right,
right.
cool. So I set the stage a little bit, Darren, letting people know what we're going to be talking about. So why don't we start
Yeah.
by telling people exactly what this report's about and
Yeah.
what goes into it.
All right. So yeah, the local search ranking factors is a survey that I run every year. I've done it for the last like 3 or 4 editions. Prior to that, it was managed by David Min. David actually started it. I think the first one came out in 2008. So this was at the very kind of genesis of local search as a subset of SEO, where he just surveyed the prominent people that were talking about the new Google local pack. How do you rank in the local pack? People like Mike Blumenthal, Miriam Ellis, some of the early sort of influencers in the space that were studying this. And so he developed this survey, just like how do you rank in this thing? What are the details that you need to dial in if you want to rank really well in the local pack? So he developed this survey. It asks a number of different questions about, in the general theme of things, like in the different areas of local search, we have things like your Google listing, your website, links to your website, reviews, and citations. Those are kind of the core areas that are influencing how you rank in there. So we first ask, like, how do you weight those? Then we ask, individual factors to rank in the local pack and the local results after the local pack. What are the things that really influence rankings there? And then we ask, what are the things that influence rankings in the local organic results? So underneath the local pack, you'll see the blue links. Those are called organic results. And Google injects businesses into those. So if you did something like Plumbers San Diego, then actual local plumbers go into that result rather than it just being Wikipedia and general websites. It actually injects local businesses. Then we ask conversion factors. Like, so what are the things? So you might rank number 3 and you might get more business than the business that's ranking number 1 because you've optimized your listing to convert people better. Like if you look at a result, it's got no reviews, it's got no photos, it's got no Google posts. That's the kind of thing where I'm not going to be attracted to that listing. I'll go to number 3 and I might convert number 3 because they've really optimized their listing for conversions. And then we also ask about myths, things that people think impact rankings, but they don't. Mm-hmm. And then we ask about some negative things, like what are some things that actually harm your ability to rank? And then that's basically it. And so I survey 40 some of the most notable local search experts, people that are studying local search, people like Joy Hawkins, Greg Gifford, Ben Fisher, people that are like, a lot of them are Google product experts. They volunteer at Google and they answer a lot of questions on the forum. But these are people that are in the trenches doing local SEO, trying to figure out how to rank in the local pack. And so I survey them every year and we publish it at whitespark.ca. If you just go to the website, you'll see it under resources there. And that's where you can see all of the details. That's the survey.
Very cool. So it's great that you do all that research for everybody because who else is going to compile all that data? So glad to have you, Darren. So let's talk a little bit about, let's get right into it, into what are the top factors that people should really be concentrating on now in 2022? Because I know a lot has changed. Google's getting smarter all the time. So what are those handful of things right at the top that people should really be doing?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the beautiful things about this survey is that it just surfaces to the top. Because the way the survey works actually is I asked 40 different local search experts to pick their top 20 factors. And then they all sort them in order of priority. And then when you take all 40 of those results and aggregate them, the most valuable factors that more experts thought were most important surface to the top. And then I generate this output of these are the absolute killer things that you really have to focus on. And so I'd love to kind of just step through some of those one at a time.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the number one, hands down, number one factor in this year's local search ranking factor survey was your primary category that you set in on your Google listing. And a really good example there is, let's say you're a law firm. You're a law firm, you mostly do criminal defense law, right? So you could set your primary category to be law firm. But what is the keyword you really want to rank for? You really want to rank for criminal lawyer or criminal defense attorney, those kinds of terms. And so if you change your primary category from law firm to criminal defense attorney, you can have an overnight 20 position ranking boost on your Google listing overnight. It's actually almost instant. It's like within the hour. Once Google accepts the change and changes it, the results will shift immediately, and now you're ranking way better. So getting that primary category right is so critical. It's the number one thing, and it makes a lot of sense. If I go to my Google listing right now and I change it to towing company, I'm not a towing company, I'm just going to fall off the results completely, because now I'm going to be potentially ranking with towing company. So it makes sense, right? It's the number one thing that Google looks at to see what is this business, what are you, what do you do? And so the advice here is to make sure that the primary category you select is the closest matched to the terms you want to rank for. So that's the number one thing.
And it sounds like it pays to be specific with that, right?
Like, don't go broad, go specific.
Yeah.
If you are, let's say, so this is an awesome tip with the primary category, actually. Lots of businesses are seasonal. So there's two really classic examples. In HVAC, so let's say you do heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, you swap your primary category seasonally. So in August, September, you switch it from the air conditioning service, air conditioning repair, you switch it to furnace repair. That's an incredible way to opt to get the benefit of the primary category. So you'll be furnace repair for the beginning of that season, and then as spring starts hitting, you swap your primary category to air conditioning terms. It's a killer tip, has a huge impact. And then you can do the same thing with a lot of these landscaping companies. So landscaping companies that do lawn care in the summer, and then they do snow removal and roof ranking and that kind of stuff in the winter. Switching your primary category there can have a huge impact.
That's really smart. I love that tip. All right, cool. So that's the first one. That's the first one. What's number two?
Number two.
Yeah.
This is great, actually. Number two that came up in the survey. I published the survey mid-November, and the number two factor that came up that time around was keywords in the GMB business name. So you see this all the time. Like if you look at the local results, you'll see people that are stuffing keywords into their business name in order to rank for it. Sometimes it's absolutely egregious. They've jammed in like 50 keywords into the GMB business name. And I got to stop saying GMB. So Google rebranded, actually. They've changed it from Google My Business to Google Business Profile, but I'm still in the habit of saying GMB. So GBP.
GBP.
Doesn't roll off the tongue as well. But so they rebranded to Google Business Profiles. And so keywords in the business name was the number two signal that seems to impact the rankings. And there's countless studies out there. Sterling Sky, Joy Hawkins, Sterling Sky, she did a really great study where she showed, like, we added keywords to the business name, boom, rankings went up like 20 positions. We removed those keywords from the business name, boom, they fell. And same thing with us. We did a very similar study, and we saw the exact same thing. So keywords in the business name has been, hands down, this ranking factor that's had a huge outsized impact. And as a result of that, it's actually created a real problem with spam. So businesses that are just stuffing keywords into their business name, and Google's doing a terrible job of policing this. They're not really doing, monitoring. The only way to actually have this become a problem for your listing is if a competitor reports you for violating the guidelines. Yeah. So, but I've launched this survey in mid-November, and on December 8th, Google launched a huge algorithm update. It's called the Vicinity update. Well, it was labeled the Vicinity update by Sterling Sky. They called it that. They got naming rights, I guess, because being first to the punch with that. And in the Vicinity update, something wonderful happened. Google reduced the impact of keywords in the business name. They've dialed back the impact of keywords in the business name, and they've increased the impact of proximity. So prior to this update, you could rank in a bit wider area. Now they've tightened that up a little bit. So the ability to rank further away from your actual business location has been reduced, and the impact
that's not good news for a lot of people.
Business name has also been reduced.
Yeah, that's bad news for a lot of people, because that's one of the questions I get more than anything. I'm sure you do too. How do I rank my business in a wider area? Because as we know, not every business is going to rely. I don't need every business I work with to be the closest business to me, but somehow Google, that's like the thing they consider to be the most important. But so I was hoping that the Vicinity update would actually do the opposite thing, and they would take more into account what type of business you are, but it doesn't sound like
I hope that that's coming. Particularly if you think about something like a service area business, let's say a furnace repair company, they want to rank across the whole city. They service the whole city. They go to your house. And so only allowing them to rank in like a 5-mile radius around their physical location is so stupid, particularly when that location might be set in like an industrial area or something like that.
Yeah.
All the people they service are out in the residential areas, which could be really far from them.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so Vicinity has been upgraded. Keywords in the business name have been downgraded, which is actually really good. I have noticed so much spam, just people inserting not only the keywords, but the city name as well, like in their, business name, which isn't really their business name. So that's good. It takes the pressure off of people to feel the need to do that, to keep up. All right, cool. So what's next in our rankings?
All right, next. Before I get into that, I'll give one quick caveat about the business name. I've seen a lot of people asking the question, "Oh no, Google has dropped keywords in the business name. So should I take the keywords out of my business name?" That's what some people are asking and thinking. I would say no. So the keywords in the business name are still benefiting you, just not as much. They don't have as much weight as they used to have. So if you take the keywords out of your business name, you're likely to drop even further in results. Some people see that. It's like, I used to rank number 1 because I had these keywords in my business name. Yeah. Now I rank number 7. And then they think, oh, well, Google reduced the impact of keywords in the business name. So should I take them out? Well, don't do that. If you take them out, you're going to drop even further. So just a quick little tip.
Okay, good to know.
Number 3, let me see my list here. Number 3 is that proximity thing. So being close to the searcher. And you can actually see this. It's really phenomenal. I did this test where I drove down the street and I stopped at every block and I ran a search on my phone for dentists. The results changed every block. That's how much rankings are impacted by your physical location. So you're really only going to rank around your business. There are edge cases where you see a business that ranks quite broad across the whole city. You can use interesting software like Local Falcon that will do this sort of grid rank where they'll show you how you rank on a grid. Or in like the Whitespark, we have a great rank tracking software too. You can specify the zip codes you want to track in, and you'll see the difference in how you rank across different zip codes, different geo coordinates. There's a huge impact on proximity. So being close to the searcher is something we already talked about. That came up number 3. Number 4, similar concept, just being in the city of search. So being actually located in the city. Of course, that's important if you rank for it. And this comes into play if you are, let's say you're an HVAC, like a furnace repair company. I don't know. I'm really stuck on that one right now, but or a plumber.
It's cold
and
out,
you're located in the suburb, but you want to rank in the big city. It's going to be really tough for you. Very tough for you to get rankings in the main city because Google knows where you're physically located, and whatever Google thinks that city is that you're located in, sometimes it's even different than the address. Then that is going to greatly impact your ability to rank. So let's get to number 5, which is something you can do something about. You can't really change much with your address unless you have a question about that.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend? I've had a lot of like one-on-one consulting clients who ask about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it always comes up like, do I get some kind of a shared workspace, or can I rent a
Yep.
desk somewhere? Can I rent a tiny office? Does that help? Is that against Google's policies? What do you think about that?
So Google's policies state that you can have as many locations as you want as long as they're staffed. That means if someone walked in, there would be someone at the desk that said, "Oh, hi, welcome to Bob's Plumbing. Can I
Hmm.
help you?" So this is the guidelines. I could open up 7 locations across the whole city in different areas I want to rank in, as long as there's someone sitting at a desk. That's what the guidelines say. People talk about co-working spaces or virtual office or PO boxes. Um,
Hmm.
you'll see a lot of lawyers taking advantage of that. Technically, that is against the guidelines. You can get your listing suspended, but it's one of these things that Google's not really policing. But if you do this, if you go and you specify, you go and register a virtual office and you define a new Google listing at that location, you do have a bit of a target on your back. You are likely to get suspended eventually. Google sometimes does these sweeps where they're like, "Hey, this is the address of a virtual office," and then they just
Right.
wipe out everything inside that virtual office. So that could be, it's a bit of a target. If you're going to walk the gray line of breaking the guidelines a little bit by not having a staffed office, then the best approach is to open a new location in the areas, the neighborhoods that you want to rank in, and get a real commercial address. And so you're going to want to, I'm telling you how to spam Google a little bit here, but you're going to want to get a real physical address, like at a commercial office,
Uh-huh.
and you just negotiate for the closet. You don't need more than like 50 by 50 square feet
Yeah.
because it's not a real thing. You're just trying to get an address somewhere,
Yeah.
and then you register your office there. But you didn't hear it from me. I'm not teaching you how to
Then you just
spam
have to
Google.
pay someone to hang out in that closet, answering the door all day, every day. It's that
Someone
easy.
knocked on the door. There needs to
Yeah.
be a human inside that says, "Hi, welcome to Bob's
Yeah.
Plumbing." So,
Nothing wrong with that. All right, cool. So yeah, that helps. Like I'm glad to know what the actual rules are on that. So all right,
yeah.
cool. What's up next?
Yeah, I want to quickly touch on another strategy for those service area
Yeah.
businesses that want to rank like in all the suburbs and all the different things.
Oh, cool.
While you technically are ineligible to get a Google listing, what you can do is target those neighborhoods and cities with what we call city pages. So we have a great blog post on our website, how to rank in cities where you don't have a physical address. If you just Google that, you'll find it. But it's you create a page on your website, like a section of your website called areas we serve. We see lawyers do it. We do this for lawyers. We do it for any kind of service area business. Areas we serve
Yeah.
section, and then you make a page for all of the primary cities or neighborhoods that you want to target, and that each of those pages should have unique content and unique photos, and it just talks about what you do in those cities. We have a law firm we've worked with for 12 years, I think now, and we created those city pages for them probably 11 years ago. And over that time, those pages have driven millions and millions of dollars worth of business to them because they do rank right underneath the pack. You can sometimes
Yeah.
get those pages to rank right under the pack, especially if we're talking about smaller cities that don't have great competition. There might not even be a criminal defense lawyer in that city, but
Hmm.
because we've created that city page, you don't get into the local pack, but you get right underneath it, or a few links down. You still drive traffic to those pages, and that's a really valuable strategy that any business can employ to drive traffic from SEO. So,
Yeah, that's
all right,
awesome. And
yep,
that's one thing I want to note on that, just to make sure anyone who's watching, if you're going to do something like that, you can't treat those pages as afterthoughts, because when you think about it, if that's how people are finding your website, you can't just do the thing where you have like a picture of the city, like the city hall, and then just a bunch of keywords about the city. You still have to persuade people to want
yeah,
to do business with you. So
yeah.
important thing to clarify
And
there.
if anyone knows how to optimize a website, it's Wes. So he's probably got some great content on how to make really good pages that convert. Know that you really do a great job of focusing on that.
Oh, thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
All right. Next factor that has a huge impact are your additional Google categories. So outside of proximity, now we're talking about, what's the next most important thing you can do? You can add more categories to your Google listing. Every additional category that you add is just like, it's like saying, hey Google, let me rank for this term. Oh, how about this term? How about this term? And so it's really valuable to add those additional categories, anything that's relevant to your business. So like if we go back to the HVAC, they've got furnace repair, and then they seasonally change it. But if as long as they keep air conditioning as an additional category, you can have up to 10 additional categories. You can still rank for that. Your primary is going to have more of an impact, but keeping air conditioning repair, air conditioning installation, any other categories that Google gives you, getting those in as additional categories of your Google listing is like casting a wider net for more terms that you want to rank for. So additional categories are great. Take the time. Try to fill out every one that makes sense. Search for different categories and see, like, is this applicable? And go ahead. And there's two thoughts about this. In the earlier days, I don't know if we go back like 2015 or something, there was this concept of category dilution, that if you add additional categories, it reduces the ranking impact of the primary. That's been completely disproven. So that's not a thing.
Okay.
And then the other one was my mistake. I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but things have changed. So there's this concept of category confusion. So if you have a primary category of, I don't know, let's say plumbers, but then you put taxi driver, hot dog stand, surgeon, you put all kinds of really weird categories that are not related to your primary, then that could have a negative impact. And I actually proved that I proved it anecdotally with one case where I added a bunch of weird categories to my listing, and we saw rankings go like this, plummet, and then I removed the categories and it came back up. That was 3 years ago when I did that thing. And I tweeted it, and now it's a thing. People think this is a big thing. I've tested it again recently. It's no longer a thing. So category confusion is not a thing. So this applies to the categories. Go hog wild. Anything that is relevant to your business, get it in there, because it's now an additional term you can rank for.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Next factor on the list. You tell me when you want to just cut me off, and we can
get
questions.
So we've got
many questions streaming in here, and so I feel like we should definitely leave time for it.
Okay, so here's the thing. So we're a half hour in. Let's quickly go through the next, whatever you think are the actually important ones to get through.
Yeah.
Just quickly, and then we can talk some myths, and then we can get to questions.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna list them for you. I'm just gonna give them to you. This is the speed round here. So next one is your Google ratings. So having a 4.5 or something rating rather than a 2.0, that has an impact. Having a complete listing, so filling it all the way out, that's going to help you convey more information to Google. Plus, it's going to really help with conversions. Links to your website. So getting lots of links to your website is a huge signal for Google. It really just shows your authority. It's like, if people are linking to this website, it must be a good one. And so I have a great blog post about that on whitespark.ca. It's 7 local link building strategies you should be using. So if you just Google that, 7 local link building Whitespark, you'll find that Google post, or you find that post with some tips on how to get links to your website. Keywords in the reviews. So when you ask people to leave you a review, you say something like, mention the service you had. Like, let's say, we had our drains cleaned. We had our house painted. He helped me with my DUI charge. Like, getting the service into the reviews, getting those keywords into the reviews has a really significant impact on ranking. So that's a great one. Yeah. And you can finesse that by the way you ask for reviews. This one came up: removal of spam listing through spam fighting. What is that? There's this thing on Google called a redressal form. So if you see competitors that have a completely fake listing, or they're stuffing keywords into their business name, you can report them through the Google's redressal form. And if they get removed, well, what happens? You go up, right? So if they get the keywords taken out of their business name, you go up. And so that's a strategy that local SEOs have really been trying to employ over the last few years.
But what about the snitches get stitches rule? I don't know if we want to go down that road.
Yeah, well, it's all very anonymous. So there's
no way. Nobody's gonna know.
Although you have to be careful because it does happen. There was a really bad case of appliance repair spam where this company was setting up thousands of fake listings, and then someone reported them through the GMB forum with their own name, and then they went after him. They flooded him with negative reviews, and then they flooded all of his clients with negative reviews. It was a disaster.
Yikes.
So don't mess with the Russian mafia that is trying to spam Google. It's danger time. So make sure you stay anonymous. If you submit a redressal form through Google, then all is fine. But if you go public with it, with your complaint, and it's like one of these spam networks, that can be the danger zone.
Yeah, you never know who you're dealing with. So, all right, cool. And I do
form.
want to say real quick, we're getting some super chats here. I've never gotten a super chat before, so we're definitely going to get to those questions. So thank you, Travis, very much. Thank you, Headband Pro, very much. I think that's all here. But yeah, I definitely wanted to address that. We'll get to those questions in a bit. So, hey, I never knew that was a thing. Yeah.
Let me bust the myths.
Yeah, let's do it.
So myths, this is a great question. I love that I added this question to the survey, which is, what are some things that people think impact rankings but actually don't? And at the very top of the list, geotagging photos. Oh my God. This is such a pervasive myth in local SEO that if you add geo coordinates and keywords to the metadata of your photos before you upload them to Google or upload them to your website, that those will have an impact on rank. It's been tested to death. Lots of people have tested it. It has zero impact on ranking. And in fact, Google is on record saying that they actually strip that information out before they upload it to Google. And they have to. You know why? Because you can put all kinds of profanity and all kinds of terrible words or even advertisements into your metadata. And then if Google is serving that up, that's potentially a problem. So they actually strip metadata, anything that you upload to Google. So that's just not a thing.
And what a waste of time that is anyway. So
it's a total
you're
waste
all
of
off
time.
the hook.
People on Fiverr selling this service, geotagging photos. You'll see software systems out there that'll say, hey, geotag your photos. It's totally stupid and a waste of time, and don't bother geotagging photos.
Yeah.
And then the rest, lots of these myths are very interesting because people think that if you add keywords to your description, if you add like this is on Google, your Google listing itself, it honestly, it makes logical sense. Keywords in the Google description, that will help Google understand who I am and help me rank. Keywords in the description, keywords in GMB products, keywords in the Google services. None of those actually impact rank. And this has been tested, like add weird keywords. Does my move, do I rank? Does my rankings change at all? It has no impact. So the only fields that actually impact rank on Google is keywords in the business name. That's an unfortunate one, but they have reduced the impact of that since the Vicinity update. Your primary categories, and that's it. Like you can put keywords anywhere else you want. They're not going to help you increase rank, but making sure that the right terms are in your description, in your products, in your services helps conversions. So it's useful to do it, but the takeaway here is there's no need to keyword stuff. There's no need to make your description look spammy. Just write it for humans. You don't have to write it for the algorithm to hopefully stuff all of it, every possible keyword. You see terrible descriptions out there where it's just like every possible keyword. It's just a keyword dump in the description. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So,
all right, cool. So it sounds though like you said earlier, it is important to fill out your profile completely. It's just not important to fill it with keywords.
Yeah, and you should mention your keywords if that's what someone's looking for, right? So someone's looking for air conditioning repair. You should mention that you do air conditioning repair in your description, but it just isn't a keyword stuffing opportunity. That's not going to help you.
Perfect.
This is a very important myth to bust because a lot of people think that this has an impact on rank, particularly service area businesses. So in Google, in your Google business profile, there's a section where you could define areas you serve. Like we do this zip code, we do this city, we do that city. You can define all of that in Google. And so logically, you think when you're filling that out, that'll allow you to rank in those different areas. Yeah. It doesn't. It's just so stupid. It has no impact on rank. The only thing that specifying the service areas does in your Google profile is that it draws this little red outline of the area you serve. That's all it does. So it's really just, it's a visual cue. So it's like I'm looking for a plumber. Do they service my area? You can see in the map that they
Right.
draw the red outline. But the actual impact on rank is zero. It does not help you rank in those areas you define, which
Okay.
that's the kind of thing I really hope Google fixes. I feel like you should be able, like by defining I service this area, my physical location is in this industrial complex, but I want to be able to rank in the
Yeah.
area that I serve. Well, I hope that Google starts working that, but it does really open them up to spam, like people abusing that feature. And so I think that's
Hmm.
the balancing act they're trying to sort out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they address that stuff in the near future. But until
Yep.
then, we've got some questions here. So let's go ahead and get to those. And I will just thank you guys for doing the super chat. So I'm just going to start with Travis right here, and then we'll get to the rest. He
Okay.
says, assuming you absolutely nail writing blog posts for SEO, do you think it would
Yep.
actually increase the number of customers a roofer in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area would get after a year?
So
Did you
if
understand
we're
the
doing,
question?
yeah, I
Okay.
do. The content is helpful. So it really helps Google understand who you are, what you do. And you're aligning the content with the primary category you've set on your Google listing, plus your additional categories, right? So
Hmm.
content that's regularly created can help. I would be careful about these services that it's like, $100 a month, and then they pump out 4 blog posts per month and they're like 400 words. That content is typically so weak that it doesn't differentiate your business from all the others that are doing this garbage content. So
Yeah.
what I typically advocate with the blog is to, rather than do like 1 blog post per week, do 1 super post per quarter. Like really dive into a topic. Make it the absolute best page in the Tri-City area or in the Twin Cities on roofing in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's good content. That, like, if this is long, you filled it out. You've talked about the different areas in this neighborhood. You've got 12 different paragraphs. You've got frequently asked questions. What do people in this neighborhood care about? You've got great photos. You've got a case study. You've got a testimonial. You've got the trust symbols. You've really taken this content and you've done a good job. But when I say that, I also think, why is that on the blog? That would do better in the areas we serve, right? So
Yeah.
typically I prefer content investments to go onto the main site, not into the blog. Blog can be for
Yeah.
news. Blog can be for other things.
Well, it
But
depends
yeah, I
on
guess,
what people want to read about too, right? Like, do people want to read a
yeah,
blog post about roofing, or do they just want to get the information they need? But
yeah.
all right, cool. Well, thanks for that question, Travis. I think it's from Travis. Yeah, and then Robert Paid Price did a super chat as well. Thanks for covering this topic. You're very welcome. So now let's get on to all the questions that we've been getting here. So the first one comes from Mindful Speech. And he says, how can we best compete for a higher competition keyword like speech therapy,
Mhm.
ADHD help, or reading help in a large metro area? How can we best
Um,
compete for a high competition keyword in a metro
yeah, I
area?
would say that keyword is probably not as high competition as you think. Like criminal lawyer, personal injury lawyer, dentist, these are pretty, like that group of practitioners, they're very dialed into local SEO and they're doing all the things. And so you got to really compete. Speech therapists, most of them aren't even thinking about this. And so the way you compete are by taking advantage of the key factors I already mentioned. So this is things like, I didn't really get into this in my list, but optimizing your website really has a big impact. So keywords in the title, lots of good content on your homepage, and these service pages. So building out service pages for each of those areas: speech therapy, ADHD, and not just having a paragraph and some bullet points. This is a common mistake you see. You've got to really tell Google, this is the best page on this topic. This page should rank. And when you do that, it actually does connect to your Google listing. And so all of that content that you're providing on your website will impact your Google listing. Setting the primary category and additional categories, and then getting lots of reviews. This is what's going to push you. I think reviews is one thing that people don't realize what an impact it has. Volume of reviews. If you've got 70 reviews for your business in speech therapy, and the rest of the competition isn't even looking at it, they don't ask anybody for reviews, that will absolutely skyrocket you to the top of the ranking. It's not an instant thing, but over time, when you have more reviews than the competition, that's a huge thing. And so I would focus on those main things that I just mentioned, getting those primary categories and additional categories right, optimizing your website with lots of good content and title tag optimizations and heading optimizations, and then really focusing on an excellent review strategy. You ask every customer. A personal ask is better than software. At Whitespark, we have a great software system for encouraging reviews. But I will tell you that, like, if you do that personal ask and then do the follow-ups, you're going to get more reviews.
Okay, awesome. Next question is from Rami. Question for Darren. What are the most important takeaways after the Vicinity update?
So it's really just the two things. The Vicinity update, lots of people have been looking at it, but the key two things are just that keywords in the business name have a reduced impact. They used to be way overweighted in the algorithm. Now they're just properly weighted in the algorithm. So that's a good thing. And then a tightening of proximity, which sucks a little bit, but yeah. So that's it. Vicinity update. Those are really the key things. I would advise you, if you want to read the definitive post on it, it's at Sterling Sky. Just Google Sterling Sky Vicinity update, what you need to know, and then you read that post.
Perfect. Okay, from Chicago Divorce Lawyer. Often actual local businesses are outranked on Google Maps by locations with virtual offices and other quasi-legitimate SEO tactics. What are your thoughts? We've kind of talked about this. But yeah, what are your thoughts on being outranked by people kind of doing these kinds of practices? Any advice?
Yeah, so this is that's an actually very competitive term. Divorce in Chicago, like divorce lawyer in Chicago.
Should that worry me? I'm getting married next year. I'll keep you on speed dial, man.
So the one way you can battle it is through spam fighting. So if they're illegitimate, they're at a virtual office, you submit a redressal form. Actually, location spam is probably the most likely one that Google takes action on. So if they're located at a virtual office, just look this up. Google redressal form. And you could also look, Ben Fisher writes a lot about this. He does a lot of spam fighting. And so Ben Fisher, spam fighting, search for that kind of stuff. And you'll find some articles from Ben where he talks about best practices, how to submit these redressal forms, how to increase your likelihood that Google takes action. So that's probably one thing you can do to battle it. There is the other angle, which is if you can't beat them, join them. So you'll see a lot of businesses creating their own closet space in different areas. But because of proximity, like you might see this business that you look at it and you think that business should not be ranking because they don't have as many links as me. They don't have as many reviews as I have. Their website looks like garbage. This is a frustrating thing, and they're ranking because they're close by. And that's just proximity. Proximity will have an impact, and there's not really anything you can do about that. And sometimes Google's results suck. They're trying their best, but the algorithm can't please all the people all the time.
This is true. And Chicago Divorce Lawyer just said, yes, be worried, get a prenup. I'm on it. And babe, if you're watching, I love you. Don't be worried about that. But anyway, okay, let's get on to the next question from Mo. Thoughts on getting backlinks straight to our Google My Business page to rank on the map pack? Does that help, getting backlinks to your profile?
I love that question. It lets me bust one more myth. So it has no impact. Do not link to your Google listing. Oh, what a waste of a link. Get that link to your website. So and then try to diversify your links on the website. So linking to not only your homepage, but some of your service pages can have a big impact. And this is an amazing thing people don't realize. One of the signals this year that really took off, it was a signal that wasn't so prominent in previous years of the survey, was internal linking. So apparently, this is news to me, Google doesn't really differentiate that much between an external link and an internal link. It's just how much authority is passed. So when you can really dial in internal links within your page content, that it's like getting another link to that service page. So anywhere you mention it across.
I'm not hearing you, Darren. I don't know if is anybody else not hearing Darren, or is that just me?
So I hit my keyboard
Oh,
and then
okay.
I think I muted by accident. So internal
Live
linking
video.
is what I'm saying. So where in the content of your homepage, content of other service pages, content of location pages, content in your blog, wherever you get the opportunity, put a link to your different services. So, and make an effort, like mention these other services you do on your service pages. Those internal links can have a very positive impact too.
Awesome. Cool. Another question for Mo. My question, should we add the city name to our business name? Sounds like no more, right?
Well, it does help rankings. I tell you that. It definitely has a positive impact on rankings. We work with one lawyer, and they actually fully rebranded their name to have that city name in their official name. And Google keeps dropping the name. Like Google looks at the whole ecosystem, all the different mentions of your business on the web, and algorithmically updates listings all the time. And so Google's algorithm keeps stripping out the city name. And when it happens, you can see the drop in rankings, and then someone on my team adds it back in and it goes back up. And so we're trying to clean up the web so that all of the business names match. But it does have a positive impact, and you could probably fly under the radar of spam reporters with that little tweak. And so it does help. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's one of those things we're not going to condone, but,
it's against the guidelines. It is
Yeah.
against the guidelines, but I'll tell you, the worst thing that typically happens with a name is Google says, "Oh yeah, that's not your name," and then they just strip it out. So it's not it's very rare to get suspended for name abuse.
Got it. All right, next question from Cam. Why is there no option for strictly virtual? I have a PO box just for Google. I mean, we could ask why all day, but
why is there an option?
Why is there no option for strictly virtual? Because basically you get to choose if you're a service business or if people can kind of come into your...
Yeah, it's because Google only wants to rank actual local businesses. That's the whole point of the local pack. It's like, this is a business in my town. And you really get a sense of that because they put so much emphasis on proximity, right? So they want to rank businesses that are local. And honestly, if you're a virtual business, if you're like an e-commerce store and you don't really care about your physical address, a Google listing's not going to be your best strategy anyways because of proximity. You're only going to rank within 5-10 miles around your physical location. And so when your audience, when your customer base is national or statewide or citywide, you generally don't need the Google listing if you're a virtual business. And so it's just not what it's for.
Okay, fair enough. And another one from my friend Chicago Divorce Lawyer. Thoughts about proximity trumping city, i.e. the searcher's location could be closer to a suburb than to a business in their own city.
Yes. So, there are breakthrough cases. And so you can see businesses. So let's say I drove my car right to the line that Google defines as the city, but I'm still within Chicago, but I'm right on the border of some suburb.
Yeah.
If I run a search there, it will pull in local businesses from the suburb because I'm really close to the suburb. So proximity will break boundaries of the city, but typically you rank worse if you're not actually in the city. And then if I add the keyword Chicago to my search term, then guaranteed all those suburb ones are out. So it does try to geolocate you and figure out, okay, you are located in Chicago. So I'm gonna try to show you Chicago businesses. But if you're so close to the suburb, they'll pull in local businesses from the suburb.
Okay, got it. Now, this one is from Headband Pro. Oh, wait. Oh, that's not a question. All right. Next one is from Yard Dogs. Do you know the ratio of the click-through rates of the three main Google listings between Google Ads, Google Map Business, and Google Organic SEO Search? So I guess he's saying okay.
Yeah, so I know what you mean, like, what percentage of clicks go to the top ad, number one position in the pack, number two position in the pack. And so there is research out there. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but there are click-through rate studies that have looked at that, and also really interesting eye tracking studies. So they follow what people are looking at on the search result page. And so you just have to Google it, click-through rate on search results, and you'll find some data on that. I haven't looked at it in a bit, but I'm sure there's some updated data there.
The eye tracking is interesting. They just use your camera on your computer. That seems
they set up a
intrusive.
camera and they watch what are people looking at, and it's really interesting because people are like map pack. Their eyes go right to the pack because it's got all this color and a nice.
It's visual.
And the stars and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I see why people want to show up there. And then Mo says, what about key terms in the review responses? We already kind of talked about that, right? Oh, no, review responses. So if someone leaves, go ahead.
So you wanted to move on, but it was the next myth I was going to mention.
Oh, okay.
Keywords in owner responses do not have an impact. And I tested this. So I actually heard this tip a while back at a conference, and someone was like, you know how keywords in the reviews have an impact? Well, what if you could add keywords to their owner responses? And I was like, it's so smart. It would be awesome. So I did that. I tested it. Lots of people have tested it. No, Google ignores keywords in the owner responses, but that won't stop people from doing it. Every once in a while, you see a business owner responding with like, thank you for using our plumber, drain cleaning, blah, blah. So they're just stopping the response. Keywords into the response totally doesn't have an impact.
All right. One more thing you guys don't have to do. All right. From Robert Paid Price, does descriptive services on Google Business Profile have ranking factors? So I guess the service descriptions.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but do it anyways. Fill out your services. It has two benefits. One, it really helps people to see what you do, and so it increases conversions. And two, there's this thing called justifications. So sometimes in a map pack, you see 3 businesses listed, and one of the businesses has this little blue icon that says like website mentions the service you searched for, or offering the service you mentioned for. Offering, that justification comes from your services. So it's a visual cue. As we just mentioned when the eye tracking study, people are drawn to the local pack, and then they're drawn further by a business listing in the pack that stands out. So really doing a good job of your services section of your Google listing has a benefit. There's no direct ranking benefit, like adding weird keywords and then measuring did that increase ranking. It doesn't have a direct ranking benefit, but it has those 2 side benefits, which makes it totally worthwhile. And I would say the same thing about your product section. So a lot of businesses think, well, I don't have any, let's say I'm pest control, right? A pest control company. I don't sell any like product like spray bottles or other things for getting rid of pests. But I offer all these services. You can use the product section for services. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I actually have a really cool tip on how to make your product images animated. You can create an animated GIF for your things that really makes them stand out. Google won't let you upload a GIF, but if you rename it to .jpg, so create your animated GIF, looks great, and then rename it to .jpg and then upload it, it'll actually get uploaded as a product, and it has this beautiful animation in it, which makes your listing stand out from others. Don't be gaudy with it, where it's like flashing or something. Be tasteful with it. If you want to see an example, you could Google Ogilvy LLP Edmonton. This is one of our clients, and you can see the animated GIFs of their services that we put in as products, and it really helps those listings stand out.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's because it's not just about ranking. You got to actually get the attention once you're there, and you got to convert people over to your side. So, love that. Yeah. Okay, now this one kind of goes along with our last one. Does Google Business Profile posts like offers, events, and news help on ranking?
Again, it's no, but it's the same answer for services. In fact, even more so. Google Posts are this underutilized free advertising space on Google. If you shift your thinking to think of them as like that, it's like, what if Google gave you free Google ads? Wouldn't you take advantage of it? That's what a Google Post is. Google Post, you can talk about your your upcoming specials, something you're running this month. There's so much opportunity in the Google Posts. And again, Google Posts get pulled in as those justifications, the little blue icon, and then content from the Google Post gets pulled in. A Google Post strategy is beautiful. You want to do that. We actually have a whole service built around conversion rate optimization for your Google business profile. It's our Google My Business Management service, where we regularly create Google Posts for you. We optimize all of your things. And the whole concept is conversions. We help you develop a review strategy, but all these things that you do on Google, you don't have to only think about the benefit from a ranking perspective. Think about the benefit from a conversion perspective. If someone goes to your listing and they see this great offer, this great special that you're running, that people click on that and they drive conversions. We've seen the Google Posts themselves drive hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of sales because people clicked on it. So they really are great. You should do Google Posts at least once a week and keep at it. Just it's like some people are posting to Facebook every day. And it's like they forget about Google. There's a great opportunity on Google. Even if you're going to cross post, that's fine. Like take the same content you put on Facebook and put it there. But the content that works best in posts are typically offers, specials, coupons, deals. That's the kind of stuff that works really well on Google Posts.
And furthermore, like the offer posts, they used to basically only keep them up for like a week, right? And you'd have to keep updating it. Now I think it's like you can keep it up for, like the last time I tried, I think it was like for a year or something.
I think it's a year now, and so they keep your posts up, but keep it fresh.
That's awesome.
You should continue to work it. In fact, because every time you add more posts, it's more content that get pulled in as a justification. And so think about all the services you offer, make a post for each one of those, and just schedule them out, one per week or whatever.
Love it. All right. Then Dimmy says, what about synonyms as categories? Is that good or bad?
I need an example.
Any thoughts on that?
Synonyms as categories. So one of the things is that Google categories, you can't enter whatever you want. You can only choose what they give you. So you don't, they used to be custom categories. Those were the golden days of local SEO. But now you can only select the categories that Google gives you. So I don't think you have the option to do synonyms.
Yeah. And then he says, also you can write descriptions per category. So what if you use synonyms? You can't write the same descriptions twice.
Well, you only have one description field on your Google listing. So if we're talking about optimizing content, targeting different variations of terms, that work goes into your website, and it's great work to do. Focus on your website for that kind of stuff. If you think about it on your Google listing, you have different services. You could definitely create multiple services for different variations. You've got services, and then sometimes your services have sub-services. It is worthwhile to fill that out on your Google listing as additional services. And then again, take that post strategy where you're creating posts for different services you offer as well.
Cool. So it sounds like fill everything out in like all these different areas we're talking about, but don't worry about the keywords. Don't worry about synonyms. Just write naturally the way you would naturally describe your services, and you would, keep it natural. That's what people are going to want to see. All right.
I would say a really simple formula here, actually. What is the list of terms I want to rank for? Number one, can I get those categories? I'm trying to match those terms to categories. Number two, I'm going to create a service in Google for each one of those. Number three, I'm going to create a Google post for each one of those. Just, it's kind of like keyword optimizing your Google listing, but you're not necessarily ranking it or optimizing it for ranking. You're optimizing it for conversions and just kind of giving Google more information about what you do.
Nice. All right, cool. Next one is from Shanti. Service business B2B. Any tips on how point of interest and neighborhood pages help for B2B service businesses?
Yeah, so B2B service businesses are these point of interest pages. Are we talking about neighborhoods or whatever? I don't know, but there was a great presentation from Joel Headley at my last local search summit. We do a conference every year, and so at the summit, he has access to 4,000 websites that they manage through the platform that they have at Patient Pop. And they identified locality. So what are the surrounding neighborhoods? And then they optimized just the title tags. And they added those localities to the title tags. And that had a 16% lift across the board on rankings. They were now able to attract more business from the localities. So those city pages, those neighborhood pages, 100% they work, and they're really valuable to build out. Just, don't just take the same content and duplicate it. You got to write new content and kind of massage it. One of the ways that we got around this was we used one of these content writing services, and we said, rewrite our About Us page. So we had our About Us page rewritten 17 times, and then we said we want a new author for everyone. So we got a fresh voice for every one of them. And then we took that and we reworked our city names into it, and it was actually fresh content. So that was one way that we kind of got around that.
Nice. All right, cool. We've got how are you doing on time, by the way, Darren?
I got more time.
Okay, we've got quite a few more questions here. So I think what we should do is just kind of more of a lightning round to get through these, so we make sure we get all of it.
Quick answers.
All right, cool.
Yep.
So next one from Michael Sofer. I sell all types of insurance in the state of Texas. How do you rank in the state of Texas?
So in the state, now you're really only going to rank around in the local pack within your minor area. So if you want to rank around the whole state, we're talking about those city pages, location-based pages. So, you could even go so far, I've seen it work, where you've got home insurance, small town, home insurance, other small town, home insurance, other small town, car insurance, and then you do the whole thing. So you might end up with like 70 pages. It's kind of spammy, but it doesn't not work.
Cool. From Tim Worsley, can I use my home address as my business address?
100% you can. If you don't service customers at your home address, then in Google, you have to not display your address. So it's called a service area business in Google. They recognize that you service customers at their homes, and so you don't want people coming to your address. So you hide your address in Google. You get rid of your address. You'll have to register your Google listing at your home address, but then you turn it off on Google, and it's totally a legitimate business in Google.
Okay. And what about the idea that, and I've been guilty of this in the past, or I have kind of thought this in the past, sounds like it may not be the case anymore, in terms of, if you do hide your address, do you have a less likelihood of ranking?
There's rumors,
a
little bits of evidence. I don't have a solid on this one yet. I've seen interesting stuff that really makes me question it. I've always said no, it doesn't matter. You hide your address, you're not going to rank any worse. But I've seen lots of reports of people saying we were ranking pretty good. I hid my address and my rankings fell off the map. So it's a gray area for me. I don't have a solid answer for you yet. I plan to do some testing on it myself with some of my listings, but right now there's some indication that it might have a negative impact on your ability to rank, but I haven't figured out the mechanics of it yet.
Okay, cool. And then from Margaritaville Beach Resort Playa Flamingo, what about services section? Why does it not show up for some of our properties?
That's interesting. Services, I think it depends on your primary category. So your primary category will dictate the different features you have in Google. So I would look at that. So some businesses, some primary categories will have the services section and some won't. So
okay, cool.
Compare the primary category.
And another one from Chicago Divorce Lawyer, YouTube impact on local SEO. Does having YouTube or does anything like that help your local SEO?
It will a little bit. It's really more of an organic SEO play than a local SEO play. But and YouTube is its own beast, right? There's great value just being in YouTube and creating good video content, getting your videos to rank in the search results. But Google does kind of understand your business entity and all the different mentions of your business entity, and YouTube becomes another one of those sources. So it probably has a minor impact, but it's not really a go-to strategy for local SEO specifically.
Yeah, and I've always struggled with kind of recommending video content for a lot of local businesses, because it depends on what you do, obviously, but there's not going to be a lot of people, like people will look up a certain city or a certain country like on YouTube for like travel purposes, but no one's really typing in like plumber in Dallas in YouTube.
Into YouTube.
So it's like you're basically either solving plumbing issues on YouTube for everybody and then just hoping some people in Dallas are watching as well, right? So, but it's good to be on YouTube. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you've got your Dallas plumbing page, a service page on your website, and then you make a video talking about that and you embed that on your page, you are YouTubing a little bit. And that video content is useful to put on that page. So it also increases dwell time, people spending more time on your site because they sit there and they watch the video. So it's helpful to do if you've got the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah, cool. All right, lightning round for real. From Shuomo, how to reinstate a page without any registration document. I follow all the terms and conditions of Google, but they rejected my reinstatement request.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You've got to provide the evidence. And one of the ways you can sometimes get around, so you want a business license, you want to have some kind of official document that says you are a real business at this location. So if you don't have that, you're a little bit out of luck. You could try photo evidence. So photo evidence can work where it's like, here's a picture of our office. Here's a picture of our van that has the logo on it. Here's a picture of our staff wearing T-shirts and hats that have our logo on it. We're a real business. And so in order to be eligible for a listing, you have to verify that you are an existing registered business. And so if you don't have official documentation, it's a bit tough. I would try the photo or video evidence to go along with things, or any kind of like utility bill, credit card bill, phone bill, any kind of official document that verifies your address. Try that.
Okay, cool. Now I should say to everybody watching, we're probably like, I wouldn't ask any more questions at this point. We're going to get through what we've got here, but we're probably not going to take any more after we've got for 1770 Castaway here. All right, so the next question is from Tim Worsley. If I change my business name, domain on Google Business Profile, but keep the same location, how does that affect search ranking?
So
just changing the name.
You said domain too, though.
Business name and domain. Yeah, okay.
Business name and domain. So yeah, changing your domain can be dangerous if you're actually going to a brand new website. If you've 301 redirected the old website to the new website, then it's safe. And so business name, as we've talked about, does have an impact on rank. And so if you've changed your business name, that can sometimes help you. But if your new business name has less keywords in it, then that can hurt you. So when you do the business name change, but changing the website URL could be a negative if you haven't properly redirected all the authority and value from your old website to your new website. So if you've done that and now you've got a much better website, it's got more content on it, it's more responsive, it's faster, all of those things will actually have a positive impact on your rank.
Nice. All right, next from Headband Pro. Does adding video content to your website help with ranking?
Yeah, this is the same thing as that YouTube question. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's like a direct, I added videos, I'm going to rank better. It's more of like adding more content can be a positive. Think about more of a conversion signal than.
And it can help. Yeah, and it can help with like just normal organic SEO quite a bit in terms of increasing dwell time, keeping people engaged longer, using the keywords in your title and description in your YouTube video and then embedding it on your page. But we're not really talking about the map pack listings being affected by that, just your SEO.
But what you do on your website does impact your map pack listing. So yes, if you're creating if I just grabbed any random video from the internet and stuck it on my webpage, it's not going to have a positive impact.
Yeah, video doesn't help because it's video.
Yeah.
All right. From Talk the Bark, what do you need to consider when working on video blogs via YouTube and its SEO impact? I can take that one real quick. I can do basically what we just talked about. Keeping the whatever keywords you want to rank for, putting that in your titles and descriptions. I mean, above and beyond, just making an engaging video. Don't do the thing where people want to basically beat Google on a technicality or YouTube on a technicality, and they do these like weird sketchpad videos or just a video that's just a video not meant to be seen by human beings. Make it a good video. Make it engaging. Because what's really going to help is just having people engaging with your page for longer. So
yeah,
that's what I'd say.
If you want to see great videos, check out Wes's channel. Just full of great videos. He's actually my inspiration. I've got my own YouTube channel. You can search Whitespark on YouTube. And so I've really been inspired by Wes's videos in terms of educational content. And so there's a ton of great stuff on there for local SEO if you want to learn more.
Oh, thanks, Darren. And I did put a link to Darren's channel in the description below. So yeah, make sure to check it out. If you're interested in this topic, he's the man on it. So, all
Thanks.
right, from Michael Norris. If a person is selling a product like data lists nationwide, is there any advantages, SEO being one, of doing Google My Business, other local citations for the city? I don't know if I'm quite understanding the question so far.
Mhm.
Is there any advantages of doing Google My Business, other local citations for the city I'm in, working out of my house? Does
Not
that make any
much.
sense to you, Darren? Okay.
Yeah, because you want to rank nationally, you want to rank around the whole country. And so you're going to get a tiny little benefit from the links that are in the citations. So, citations are a listing on directories. So, like Yellow Pages,
Mm-hmm.
Yelp, whatever. You can get a listing for your business. And so you could do that. It's a bit of a link building strategy. It's a pretty minor impact, but it spreads more about your business. The Google listing itself, you're not going to rank across the whole country for your Google listing. But
Right.
letting Google know who you are, it helps establish that entity in Google. It's useful to do it. And sometimes actually can be benefit for a branded search. Someone searches for your business and you've got a Google profile with lots of good reviews, that can be helpful. So you can think about it from a
Yeah.
branded search perspective and then still focus on trying to drive reviews to your Google listing. Whitespark is a great example of that. Search for Whitespark Canada, Whitespark Edmonton, and you will see our profile, and we've got tons of great Google reviews. And so that, people do branded search, even though we want to rank globally.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's worthwhile.
Yeah. You still got that box over on the right side showing your
Yep.
reviews. It's a good sales tool. Mark Roberts says, do all the discussed points apply to the UK or any other
Yes.
country for that matter?
Any other country, everything we talked about, local search, the algorithm, the way Google ranks local businesses is the same across the whole globe.
Awesome. From Mr. Vidart, how does hiding your address affect proximity?
Good question. If you hide your address, your proximity is still based off of the address you verified your business at. So
Mm-hmm.
your physical location is at home, for example, it's your home address. You hide your address. Your proximity is really still based around your home address, even if you've hidden your address.
Okay. Cool. And our final question from 1770 Castaway. What about several businesses at the same address? For example, I have 3 different businesses but use the same address as the office. Is that a red
Is
flag
totally
or?
No, it's totally a normal, common thing that Google is familiar with. There's nothing wrong with it. My advice to you is do not use the same phone number. If you use the same phone
Hmm.
number, Google will likely merge those listings and be confused. Anchor them as unique businesses by a different primary category. That's key. You have to have a different primary category, as you would, because there are 3 different businesses. So make
Yeah.
sure you have a different primary category, a different phone number, and then the same address. It's no problem. It's pretty common. Think about an office tower. In an office tower, you've got thousands of businesses, right? They all have the same address. They have different phone numbers, they have different
Yeah.
categories. You actually can see this in action in an office tower. If you've got 5 different criminal defense lawyers in the same office tower, Google will usually filter out 4 of them. Only one of them ranks because they're all same business at the same address. Google will filter them out because they think they're duplicates or whatever. So as long as they're unique
Interesting.
primary category, unique phone numbers, you're good. You can use the same website too, but you might want to link them to the different pages. But even better is if you have a different website for each service.
Yeah. All right.
But no
Perfect.
necessary.
Well, this has been a wealth of information, Darren. Thanks so much for coming on with us. So, where can people find out more about Whitespark and this annual report of yours?
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Wes. It was great chatting with
Yeah.
you. I could talk about this stuff all day. You can find more information about Whitespark, the different services. We have great software for helping you rank in local search. We have the best local rank tracker in the industry where you can monitor your rankings and see how you're doing. See if all the stuff you're doing has an impact. We have a great SEO service where we can do all this work for you at whitespark.ca. You can follow me on Twitter at Darren Shaw underscore. You have to add an underscore at Darren Shaw underscore. That's me on Twitter. And then definitely check out our YouTube channel. Got a great YouTube channel, lots of content. It's been a while since I posted something, but I plan to get back to it soon.
Yeah. Well, I've loved the videos I've seen so far. So, Thanks for coming
Thanks.
on with us, Darren, and thank you everyone for watching. Hope it was helpful. We plan on doing more of this kind of stuff in the future. Just having expert guests on to cover some of my blind spots. So, but anyway, hope you're all having a great week, and I will see you all next week with our regular scheduled programming. All right, have a good one, guys. Thanks,
Thanks,
Darren.
Wes. Thanks, everybody.